goes unpunished. The establishment of the committee comes after the acquittal of Nigerian televangelist Timothy Omotoso in a rape trial which recently sparked controversy in the Eastern Cape High Court. Earlier in this week, CRL Commission Chairperson Togom Kwanazi Xaluva briefed the media over the mandate of the committee, saying that the move is not to regulate and to dictate to the church, but to restore some order in the religious sector. The head of the Independent Section 2022 committee is Professor Musa Xulu.
And we should also be meeting with the National Commissioner of the Department of Correctional Services. We must also know that for a lot of times, people who commit some of these crimes, they come from out of prison and suddenly they are extremely religious, and maybe sometimes, especially with the issues of pastors who have been serving sentence and then they come out and start working with children, it usually becomes problematic. So it's part of the consultations.
The South Africa-Palestine movement is demanding accountability from members of parliament over their recent visit to Israel. The group is calling for immediate suspensions, internal party probes with public outcomes, and a full parliamentary ethics investigation into those implicated in the controversial trip. Meanwhile, a protest march will take place next Friday at the Democratic Alliance KwaZulu-Natal headquarters, aimed at solidifying South Africa's stance against the atrocities committed by Israel on the people of Palestine. Organizer of the march, Michael James, explains the action that needs to be taken against the DA, Patriotic Alliance, and African Christian Democratic Party.
The South African Palestine movement will be leading a public protest both for the sake of solidarity, but also for the sake of officially solidarity with the people of Palestine, but also for the sake of standing up to an injustice, which involves the official handover of a memorandum of demand to three political parties affiliated with a recent unauthorized and what we would call an unethical trip to the State of Israel. The parties involved are the DA, the Democratic Alliance, the PA, the Patriotic Alliance, and the African Christian Democratic Party, the ACDP.
Hamas has formally rejected Israel's latest ceasefire offer, saying it is prepared to immediately negotiate a deal that would see the release of all remaining hostages in return for an end to the war and the release of Palestinian prisoners. In a video statement, Hamas chief negotiator Khalil al-Hayya said they will not accept partial deals that serve Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's political agenda. 59 hostages remain in captivity and 24 are thought to be alive. Israel's latest offer involved a 45-day ceasefire in return for the release of 10 hostages. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I am Nolutando Butelezi.
SABC News. The African Perspective. Africa Update on Channel Africa.
Thanks, Nolutando, with the news. If you've just tuned in, welcome to it. I'm Thabiso Lehoko, standing in for Lulu Gaboo, who is currently out. This is Channel Africa. We are broadcasting live from Auckland Park in Johannesburg, South Africa. We are on the DSTV OWK channel 802, on OpenView on channel 628, and you can live stream us on www.channelafrica.co.za, as well as on the SABC Plus app, available on the Google and Apple Play stores. Join in the conversation by finding us on X at Channel Africa #1, Facebook Channel Africa, Instagram at Channel Africa.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.
You can also subscribe on YouTube at Channel Africa 1. Remember to use the hashtag Africa Update. You can also send your comments and voice notes to +27 63406 9126. In your comments, please tell us in which country you are in. You can send us your stories to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or alternatively, you can call us on +27 011 714 4459. If you have missed any of our interviews, you can find them on www.channelafrica.co.za. Go to the Africa Update link and you can find whatever you have missed.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.
South Africa is a vibrant nation, rich in cultural and religious diversity. During the Easter holidays, communities across the country come together to share in traditional foods, music, and spiritual practices. Good Friday, one of the main Christian festivals, marks the crucifixion of the death of Jesus Christ. This traditionally marks the beginning of the Easter long weekend. Lerato Makola explored how different cultural and religious groups prepare for this sacred time.
Pickled fish, a beloved tradition among the colored community, often enjoyed with hot cross buns, is a Good Friday staple. This dish is not only a culinary favorite, but a symbol of heritage and remembrance, tracing back to colonial times. Excitedly preparing a feast for her family, Maggie Haskins shares what Easter means to her.
For us, it's just setting time apart to reflect on him and say thank you. Thank you for that sacrifice you've made. You know, we appreciate it. If you didn't make that sacrifice, we would have died in our sin. But now you came to save us. The Gentile, especially, the Jews rejected him, but he said, I'm going to, you Gentiles, you accepted me. So he came for all of us. So we are saying thank you, Jesus, for having come, for really saving us. And for us, this is just reflecting on that time, the sacred time of what the sacrifice is made.
South Africa is home to a tapestry of religions, and as a result, Easter is observed in many different ways across the country. In the township of Kagiso, one family marks the occasion with deep devotion and tradition. For Cleopatra Mupedi, Easter is not just a time of spiritual reflection, but also a moment to embrace community, family, and faith.
We invited everyone in the community to come and enjoy with us, and you'd find that some families don't have food during Easter holiday. Church is my home, my family, my husband, because I am a widower. So I want to make sure that things go according to plan at church.
Expert Rajendra Gavenda say Easter is a time of renewal, hope, and generosity towards those in need.
These offerings symbolize gratitude and a spirit of giving. And in Hindu community, we call it Annadanam, where you give food for the underprivileged. So during Easter festival, many people offer food in various temples and so on as an offering that has been converted from blessed food and offered to the needy. Preparing and sharing food is seen as an extension of spiritual service and a way of giving back to the community.
Gavenda further differentiates on the dress codes.
Each religion has its own unique dress code when it comes to temples. Now, because Christian is very modern, right? You will notice that when you go and pray in a Shembe church, for example, their outfits are very traditional. They cover themselves full in those white outfits, very, very specific to the Shembe religion, or the ZCCs, when they go to pray during Christian weekend, they also have a very, very conservative dress code. But in a modern church, it is much more modern, where people wear short dresses and so on. But it's up to the most important thing is, when you go to a church, temple, mosque or whatever, your heart must be clean.
Many people also observe Lent, a time of spiritual reflection, fasting, and prayer leading up to Holy Week. Lerato Makula, SABC News in Johannesburg.
Are you fluent in French, Chinyanja, Portuguese, and Kiswahili? Are you passionate about radio? And are you looking to work in South Africa? Do you have papers that qualify you to work in South Africa? In that case, we might have an opportunity for you to work for Channel Africa. Send us your CV and demo at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Remember, if you don't hear from us within 14 days, it means you have not made it or you have not been selected. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa Update on Channel Africa.
It has been reported that the former private military firm Blackwater's Chief Executive Officer Eric Prince is leading a team that is helping the Democratic Republic of Congo to secure and tax its extensive mineral wealth. Prince's assistance is run in parallel to a broader minerals for security deal being negotiated between the DRC and the Trump administration to secure critical mineral supplies. Washington expects minerals deal negotiated with the Central African country will involve a range of private sector partners. For more on this, we are joined on the line by our correspondent in the DRC, John Noel Bamueze. Good afternoon, John.
Hi, Dion. Hi to all the listeners of Channel Africa.
Very well, John. Tell us more about this process. How is it being spearheaded?
Yes, this has been being spoken about here. People are really speaking about it here in the DRC. It seems that the discussions are going well. The Blackwater teams are expected to be deployed in the southeastern DRC, and that's especially in the Katanga region. You know, this Katanga region has a lot of minerals, including a lot of copper, a lot of gold, a lot of cobalt, and more. These teams to be deployed there will be securing the transparency in order to make sure that minerals that are going from there are going in a transparent way, and to make sure that the whole process respects or is done according to the Congolese Mineral Code.
How has the DRC generated revenue from its mineral resources over the years?
In the past years, the country used to work with public state companies such as the JECA mines. The JECA mines in the Katanga, for example, in the Kasai region, where we have a lot of diamonds. The state company was the mine of Bakwanga, which is well known as Meba. But as days went on, things started collapsing, and there have now been contracts between the DRC and private companies involved in mining, and until many particulars, many people involved in the mining used it to extract the mines and taking them out in a certain uncontrolled way. So the DRC really found itself unable to control this mineral sector the way the way it's supposed to be, and this is what's happening up to now. If we can have a look at the eastern DRC, such as in the Kivu, where this M23 rebel movement is now controlling with the Rwandan support. The minerals have been going out in disorder, and the Congolese government doesn't have any real control, and that's, I think, the reason why the government has decided to approach this Eric Prince's company. Unfortunately, this company can't deploy in the Kivus, as you know, since it's a rebel-controlled zone.
We understand that the US is yet to clarify what role it would play in providing security under the potential agreement. What is the latest on the US Minerals for Security deal insofar as you know, John?
Yes, this deal between the U.S. and the DRC government is going well. It's moving well because a few days ago the American President Donald Trump's special envoy or special advisor was on a visit here, and after his visit, he said that things are moving well, and that the U.S. has to review the DRC proposal so that things can go well. And he confirmed that everything is moving well, and we have tried to speak to a source within the government that confirmed the very same thing, saying that things are moving well, and that the U.S. administration or the Trump administration is expected to deploy troops here, to deploy, to send military equipment and military, and to provide military training, but it's not yet confirmed since the deal, the agreement is still have to be taken to the parliament, and once it will be agreed into the parliament, that's where now more details can be done. Can be made.
All right, so John, before I let you go, in a nutshell, what's your sense? Has there been anyone who has shown particular interest in being part of the deal between the two countries? What do you see?
No, it's so difficult to know that, because as we are now waiting for the deal to be finalized and be sent to the parliament, it's only after that it will have been sent to the parliament that those who show interest can start showing themselves, but up to now it's really too difficult to know who's interested.
Thanks, John. That was our correspondent in the DRC, John Noel Bamueze.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.
The President of Zimbabwe, Emmerson Mnangagwa, will deliver the Independence Day address at the rural town of Nembudzia in Gokwe. This as the Southern African country commemorating its 45 years of independence. The festivities are expected to feature military displays and musical performances. Some Zimbabweans do not expect Mnangagwa's speech to deliver from those he has delivered in the previous years. For more on this, we are joined on the line by our correspondent in Zimbabwe, John Kasim. Good afternoon, John.
Afternoon, how are you?
I'm all right, John. Take us through the festivities in Nembudzia in Gokwe ahead of President Mnangagwa's much anticipated Independence Day speech.
In fact, as we are speaking now, President Emmerson Mnangagwa has just started addressing the nation for the 45th independence celebrations taking place in Gembuzia in Gokwe, Zimbabwe. This is year 45, and a few years ago, this is when they decided as a nation that the celebration should actually be done across the country. All along since 1980, the celebrations were taking place in Harare at Chinese National Sports Stadium. However, it has now become a tradition that when the president is preparing for the 18th April Independence commemoration, he gathers some business people, children, and any other sector that he feels is important during that time so that they could discuss. But yesterday, there were celebrations by children from various schools across the country, various provinces. They gathered and we addressed them. They were talking about the use of drugs so that they could abstain, the issue of HIV and AIDS among its children, and many other issues that are affecting the economy at the moment. So President Mnangagwa today is expected to talk more about the issue of drug abuse, issue of health, education, the economic challenges that are affecting the country at the moment, as well as the vision 2030 that they are calling for, in which they are saying that the economy should actually get to the middle income status, of which at the moment is rather difficult. Yes, they are saying this, but it's rather difficult because if you go on the ground, there are no medicines in the hospital. There was a strike last week and 3 lecturers were arrested at University of Zimbabwe, meaning the lecturers are underpaid. So quite a number of challenges facing the country at the moment, yet the president is expected to say something which is positive around those areas. So yes, people are expecting him to speak a lot on how to address these issues, but we know that when it comes to national celebrations, very little comes from the rhetoric that the president says.
So now, John, tell us more about the general feeling among young Zimbabweans, young people in Zimbabwe, obviously, when it comes to issues of unemployment. You touched on the economy. Tell us more about the socio-economic woes and whether do young people still believe that Zimbabwe stands a chance to roar back to its original financial health?
The chance for young Zimbabweans to revamp and maybe to economically advance and even empower themselves are sort of fading by each day because as we talk of unemployment, economic challenges, more and more chances are fading away and giving less chances for the youth and young Zimbabweans to get employment and even to get to the status where they can say now they are independent and they can economically sound and really do things for themselves. Right? Yes, we've got education system in Zimbabwe from grade 1 to form 6 up to university. So many graduates, thousands of them being ushered into the industry, job industry every year, and yet the companies are closing, production is going down. The currency of Zimbabwe is actually weakening every day, and this is actually making life very difficult. You find most people who are within 30 to 40, some of them, especially males, have never tested a house of their own. They don't have bank accounts because they've never been employed. They've never actually received a payslip. Yes, they are saying that economically they need Zimbabweans to be employers and not employees. But employees without capital and actually opportunities, economic opportunities to start things of their own is now very difficult for these youth. Hence, you find the number of youth going into the drug abuse is rising by each day.
John, with that said, try and give us a feeling. I mean, given the latest arrests of journalists and protesters, really nothing new. But how important is this day, for the rest of the country, given the recent events that had been unfolding?
Yeah, when it comes to the PVO signing, that was done last week. You find quite a number of amendments that were done. legally, and the arrest of journalists and other human rights defenders, a number of things happening on the ground, which means that the space for expressing ourselves in Zimbabwe is shrinking every day. And this is actually worrisome because these are some of the issues that resulted in the liberation struggle ahead of independence in 1980. So most of the laws, draconian laws that were there during the Smith era, it's just been, what can we say, they've just been redone to look good, whereas underground you can tell that these laws are very bad and actually limiting freedom for so many Zimbabweans. Yes, we talk of Blessed Geza, they are still looking for him, but Blessed Msanga is now in prison for expressing, for giving freedom to certain people to express themselves. Journalism is not a crime, but we see many journalists being threatened with arrest and imprisonment. So these are the freedoms that resulted in the liberation struggle. Yet 1980, 18 April, there was independence, but there is no independence according to what political analysts are saying if you look at what is happening around us.
John, thanks for your time this afternoon, and continue doing the wonderful work that you always do out there, and happy Independence Day.
Thank you. Happy Easter to you there.
That was a correspondent in Zimbabwe, John Kasim.
Hello, Africa. We would love to hear your voice on our radio station. Be part of the fun and send a shout out or greeting message to your loved ones and your favorite Channel Africa presenters. Whether you're in Africa, the diaspora, or anywhere else around the globe, we want to hear your voice. Send your shout out message by sending an email to info@channelafrica.co.za or send them to our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages. Help us diversify our sound with your voice. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.
High levels of unemployment in African economies have led to the growth of the informal economy as more and more people seek ways to make a living outside formal employment. About 80% of employment in sub-Saharan Africa happens in the informal sector because of lack of adequate economic growth to create jobs and financial and regulatory barriers to starting formal businesses. Dimakato Leshore has the details.
Structural economic challenges have led to high levels of unemployment and are driving the growth of the informal economy on the continent. Economists estimate that about 80% of jobs in the Southern African region are created in the informal sector. In South Africa, where the unemployment rate is among the highest in the world, recent job numbers show that 20% of jobs created were in the informal sector. According to a survey conducted by the state agency Statistics South Africa, 1.9 million informal businesses existed in 2023 compared with 1.5 million a decade earlier. Black people are the ones mostly forced into this part of the economy. Political economist at ZANU Guru Advisory in Zimbabwe, Kevin Tutani, says this is not a good thing. He says it reflects the weak state of an economy.
Informal economy's participation to GDP in the USA, for example, is 7% of GDP. Right. In China, informal economy's contribution to GDP estimates set it at around 12.7%. In South Africa, estimates set it at around 25% of GDP. And if we're talking of the broader Southern African region, we talk of countries such as Zambia and Zimbabwe, we're looking at 40% of GDP for Zambia, 65% of GDP in Zimbabwe. But as you can tell, the greater the level of informality, the poorer the economic narrative.
He says African governments need to industrialize and grow their economies to middle income and upper middle income levels.
Policymakers must not just set out and say, we want greater formality, we want to legislate greater formality. They should particularly aim for more vibrant economic activity. And when that happens, then they can perhaps begin to legislate when the economy is in an upswing, amongst other things.
Because these businesses are not formalized, government misses out on crucial tax revenue like value-added tax and personal income taxes. Independent economist in South Africa, Takudzwa Mutize, explains.
estimates suggest that between 200 to 300 billion rands in potential revenue remains uncollected each year from the informal sector. The informal economy itself, though, contributes significantly, about 750 billion in value to the South African economy. However, many informal businesses still pay indirect taxes. So we have VAT on the goods they buy from the formal sector, and we also have import duties that they pay on some of the products they sell. So they are contributing, just not through formal tax channels.
Mutizi says South Africa's government has over the years put measures in place to support informal businesses, but these efforts have not always found their way to the very businesses where they are needed.
We also have, the 2014 launch of the National Informal Business Upliftment Strategy, the NIBUS. And then post-COVID, we have the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan, which promised to cut red tape and improve access to finance for businesses, formal businesses as well as informal businesses. So we have these policies at national level and strategies at national level. Despite all this, progress on the ground has been slow.
He added that there are many regulatory and financial requirements which pose a barrier to entry to the formal economy.
Only 10.7% of informal businesses had licenses. And we know that without registration, many can't access finance to grow. Banks often require collateral or formal documents. So many informal businesses remain survivalist by nature.
South Africa's government has ramped up efforts to have businesses like tuck shops, mostly in townships, registered and formalized, but even this has proven a battle because of the stringent requirements and may in turn leave many of these businesses operating illegally. For Channel Africa News, I'm Dimakato Leshoro in Johannesburg.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.
With the Easter holidays underway, many people are traveling to their holiday destinations. However, while eager holiday makers take to the roads and skies, their homes could become easy targets for criminals, especially if they unwittingly advertise their absence on social media. For more on this, we're joined on the line by the spokesperson for My Way Insurance, Sia Kamasi. Good afternoon, Sia.
Good afternoon, Thabiso. How are you?
I'm well.
Yes. I hope you haven't pinpointed where exactly you are.
After reading that line, it actually caught my attention, Sia.
Yeah. I think it's something that it's in today's world, we want to live and live virtually and share wherever we are with our loved ones, with our friends, and so forth. But unfortunately, it comes with its vices. That once you share, like now, let's say you're going on Insta, and you post that you are now in Cape Town. You could be alerting, would-be criminals. Then they alert that, he's away with his family and he's away in Cape Town. And then you become vulnerable. So that's the problem with this posting.
Criminals are everywhere. I mean, even if I were to post on social media my absence at home, what difference would that do?
Yeah, look, it does. It's true. They're everywhere. Whether you are in Cape Town, whether in Joburg, you're open to that. But like I'm saying, in this day and age, some criminals are really watching over your every move. They could be following you wherever you're going. So if you're really going to post real time, you're actually really equipping them to follow you or to then come to your house in your absence. And that's the problem. So here, what I'm talking about is the risk. You increase the risk by posting. It doesn't mean, we can eliminate criminality totally, but the fact is that you increase that risk by posting.
So then we'd have to delay posting travel updates, you say?
that would be a better option. That would be a better option where you share and you reflect on the Easter. That's maybe a week afterwards than to do it real live.
And how important would it be to disable our locations tracking on our phones?
Yeah, the thing with a lot of social media applications actually work with your app. So if you're not aware, you might get into a social platform not unintentionally. You then post, and it actually then states, "Oh, he's in Limpopo right now." So it's important that you switch off those the locations on your phone.
In an instance, Sia, where there's a burglary, can insurance companies refuse to pay if it's found that one had posted their traveling plans in real time?
Yeah, look. I know there's some insurers that can be that strict. But look, we always encourage you to. To mitigate the risk, and these things happen. And if it's beyond your control, if it's not intentional, if it was not a reckless move, insurers won't really reject that. But I can't speak for all insurers because each policy is different. But I don't think we're very that strict that would reject you because you actually posted.
Before we end this, please just give us more advice, the do's and don'ts, because I think that there could be a lot here.
There is. Yeah, first thing is I'll just say simply just switch off your locations if you're not using them. We often switch it on when we are using our GPS and then we leave it on. And that in itself will then activate in some of the social media. So once you're done with using your GPS, I would actually suggest that you switch it off. We've already touched on the fact that rather delay your posting, your movements so that you don't, because I understand some people it's work. They're posting because they need an audience to actually follow them, and it's part of their work. But if you're not, and you're just like you and me, and you're just simply wanting to share your life, I would say delay posting that, and then also lock up your residence. If you've got an armed alarm, and all those measures are meant to minimize the risk. We know that the risk can actually happen, but if you can just minimize it, those are some of the tips that I have for you.
Sia, thank you very much. That was really valuable, and thanks for joining us on this all-important topic.
Okay, thank you so much. Enjoy your Easter.
Thanks, Sia. That's Sia Kamasia, spokesperson at My Way Insurance.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.
As we mark Easter, the Drinks Federation of South Africa is calling on alcohol retailers and traders to promote a culture of responsibility and care. The Federation's Chief Executive Officer, Angela Russell, says Easter is a time to reflect and recommit to values that strengthen communities. She's urging traders to check identity documents, stick to trading hours, and refuse service to intoxicated customers. Russell joins us on the line to further discuss this. Angela, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you and your listeners.
What inspired the DFSA's Easter message this year, and why is it so important during this time of reflection?
So just to say, the Drinks Federation of South Africa is the industry body that represents the interests of the legitimate alcohol sector, and we work collaboratively with stakeholders to ensure its sustainability, and part of this is promoting responsible trade. And we know the vast majority of our retailers and traders do engage in responsible and ethical trading, and our message this year, not only for consumers and retailers, is your responsible choices matter. And we really are asking them to lead with integrity and put people first. They do play a critical role in safeguarding communities during this Easter period when there are celebrations and alcohol is drunk. And really, every responsible decision, whether it's checking IDs, as you said, or respecting trading hours, refusing to serve intoxicated customers, consumes to a safer and more respectful trading environment for everybody.
Can you elaborate on the role alcohol retailers and traders play in promoting community safety and well-being?
So I think, as you said earlier, we do have an issue in this country with underage drinking, and I think it's very critical for everyone to play their part and ensure that they are not selling alcohol to minors, and therefore we do encourage the verifying age with a valid identity document, as well as we know from a community safety point of view, adhering to trading hours ensures that we have compliance with laws and ensuring that, alcohol is drunk within the time frame that it is set out for. I think, preventing harm really does begin with responsible service. And, we can all see when someone has had a little bit too much to drink, and therefore refusing to sell to, intoxicated people potentially can, assist this individual as well as, the people around. We recognize that drinking alcohol doesn't just impact the individual who's drinking, but it also influences the broader community and family and friends around it. But I think the key one that I want to highlight is illicit and unregulated alcohol. We are seeing a rise in the manufacturing of fake alcohol, which does have, components which are not necessarily good for human consumption and really does threaten consumer health. And we are seeing a rise in illicit alcohol being sold, within communities, even within formal trade. So, we really want to encourage retailers to source and sell only legitimate products. This not only protects the public safety, but also promotes the fair trade within the industry.
You've spoken about responsible trading practices. Now, what are some of the key actions retailers should be taking, this Easter weekend in particular?
So I think I've kind of mentioned them all. Is verifying age, I think, is very critical. Ensuring that they are selling within their trading hours. So I think all of those things that I have already mentioned are very important for retailers to carry out.
Now, illicit alcohol continues to be a concern in South Africa. So let's take, for example, this Easter weekend. I'm sure it's incumbent on parents to keep an eye on their boys and girls in order for us not to have alarming statistics come the end of this quarter. As an industry body, how do you go about gauging the statistics? How do you see the alarming numbers?
So I think, we obviously look at what the public puts out, but I think importantly for us as an industry is to promote awareness, especially around, for example, illicit alcohol. As I said, we are seeing the increase in this, fake alcohol products getting to market. So I think maybe a message for consumers as they're listening to your show is kind of what to look out for. So if we start at the top of the bottle, check the cap. Has the cap been tampered with? Is the seal broken? Is the cap, printed? Is the quality good? Going down into the full level of the bottle, is the alcohol full consistent? Because sometimes if you have, you can see inconsistent filling on shelf, which should not be happen. So look for unusually high or low liquid levels. Quality of the liquid is very important. Look at the color. Is it the usual color? Often we see cloudiness, and you can often see very clear floating particles within illicit alcohol. Another key thing to look out for is labeling. So look at the front label, check the quality of the labeling, look for how the print, where the label is actually stuck onto the bottle, looking at the printing quality. Are there spelling mistakes? Is it peeling? As well as back labels, often we find are missing from, are missing. And I think another key one for consumers to check out for is price. So, if the price seems too good to be true, it probably is. And selling significantly below market pricing should be a red flag for illicit alcohol. And I think importantly, if people maybe find illicit alcohol in the market, what they can do is, if it's a well-known brand, is contact the brand owners themselves, because obviously each of the companies wants to ensure that there is no illicit product out there. as well as then reporting any potential illicit products to SALBA, and they have an email address, illicittrade@salba, and that is salba.co.za, illicittrade@salba.co.za, where consumers can send photos, possible information, where they've purchased from, and this would be anonymous, so that we can start investigating these matters out here to ensure that those consumers who choose to do alcohol are actually having legitimate alcohol that they are consuming.
Angela, thank you very much. This is much appreciated, and thanks for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you very much, and good Easter to your listeners.
Likewise. That's Angela Russell, CEO of the Drinks Federation of South Africa.
Africa Update on Channel Africa. Big news from Channel Africa. Now you can listen and watch your favorite shows on Channel Africa. Channel Africa is streaming live on the internet on all our social media pages at Channel Africa 1 from 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. Central African Time. Download the SABC Plus app or visit our website www.channelafrica.co.za and stream us live on all our social media pages at Channel Africa 1. Channel Africa now streaming for your eyes and ears only. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Grande nouvelle à Channel Africa. Vous pouvez désormais écouter et regarder vos émissions préférées sur Channel Africa. Channel Africa diffuse maintenant en direct sur Internet et sur tous nos réseaux sociaux de 6h à 21h, heure d'Afrique centrale, sur Channel Africa 1. Téléchargez l'application SABC Plus ou visitez notre site internet www.channelafrica.co.za et rejoignez-nous en direct sur toutes nos pages réseaux sociaux Channel Africa 1. Channel Africa est désormais en diffusion audiovisuelle uniquement pour le plaisir de vos yeux et vos oreilles. Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.
We are broadcasting live from Auckland Park in Johannesburg, South Africa. We are on the DSTV OWK channel 802, on OpenView on channel 628, and you can live stream us on www.channelafrica.co.za, as well on the SABC Plus app, available on the Google and Apple Play stores. Join in the conversation by finding us on X at Channel Africa numerical 1, Facebook at Channel Africa, Instagram at Channel Africa 1. You can also subscribe on YouTube at Channel Africa 1. Remember to use the hashtag Africa Update. You can also send your comments and voice notes to +27 63406 9126. In your comments, please tell us in which country you are in. You can send us your stories to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Or alternatively, you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. If you have missed any of our interviews, you can find them on www.channelafrica.co.za. Go to the Africa Update link and you can find whatever you have missed.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.
The International Court of Justice held the first hearing at The Hague to consider a lawsuit filed by the Sudanese government against the United Arab Emirates. Sudan accuses the UAE of violating its genocide prevention agreement by allegedly supporting the Rapid Support Forces in the Sudanese civil war that has been ongoing since April 2023. The ICJ is expected to rule in the next few weeks on whether the United Arab Emirates can be plausibly found complicit in the commission of genocide by arming the Rapid Support Forces militia in Sudan's civil war. Mabubologa spoke to Dr. David Matsanga, a political scientist and international relations expert.
I have taken part in that case, and I understand the difficulties of that case. First, the UAE is not stating its position properly because there is a case, and that case touches the two states. One, a documented evidence that we have, which is before the court. I saw the documents before the court. They simply tell the truth about what is taking place in Sudan. The United Nations panel itself found UAE supplying drones and other things, arms, and so many other money transfers. And that is exactly what has created the problem and the case that is before the court.
Should the International Court of Justice find the UAE to have been complicit in the war in Sudan, what implications will that have for the United Arab Emirates?
First, it will mean that they will do the reparations. They will be able to pay. If they find them guilty, they will have to pay the rebuilding, they pay for the humanitarian catastrophe that has taken place, pay for all the damages that have been done, just as Uganda was found guilty of having gone to Congo and they were fined for almost over $400 million. What is happening in the region, to all your listeners, what is happening in the region is very, very disturbing in the sense that you find quite a number of countries from the Arab states, the Gulf states, have come over exporting their type of fanatism that we see cropping up in the continent, especially in the Horn of Africa. Look at Qatar, look at Saudi Arabia, look at Turkey, look at all these states that are now jostling for the power and the minerals and the oil that we see across in those areas. It is sad, very completely sad that the Gulf states have become the third colonizers of Africa. We had the second colonization of Africa, the partitioning of Africa, colonization of Africa. Now we've liberated ourselves from these guys. Now another crop of gentlemen across from the Gulf state have come all the way into our countries, and they are disturbing our states. In fact, if you look at the way the Libya was divided into two, who is arming the people of Libya, the troops that are in South Libya? Khalifa Haftar is being armed by France and the UAE. They have divided Libya. So there is something that is growing until African Union addresses this issue, this matter, and tells the people to get out of our continent, to give us. We don't refuse help. Help can be given. We don't refuse, but you can't come to interfere, supply arms to kill us. It is not very good at all. Sudan has taken a right direction, and if the court finds what has happened in Sudan, that several countries will come up where arms are being sold in exchange to kill people, the natives. You see Congo, the Congo war has mercenaries, some of them. Qatar is involved in the Congo crisis because of the minerals. So things are going to whole heads are going to roll if this is, and IGAD, these are member states that have not spoken out. AU has not spoken out. Instead, AU has endorsed peace processes to be conducted across. So the danger of the Horn of Africa lies and comes from the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Turkey, Iran, and others.
And what will take to just find a lasting solution in Sudan? And we've seen in the past week the leader of the Rapid Support Forces, General Mohammed Dagalo, going to a few countries, to a point where he even went to Kenya, leading to a bit of a trade war between Kenya and Sudan. How can that conflict or war in Sudan be resolved? Even when we see General Dagalo going around trying to lobby other heads of states to come and assist in the matter, leading to such a turn of events where even diplomatic ties between a host country and Sudan are clashing.
First of all, the Americans are also doing the same in Saudi Arabia. What is Saudi Arabia doing? It is arranging General Burhan for talks. There is nothing wrong for Kenya to arrange, to allow these people to come and organize themselves in preparation for talks. So on that one, I disagree with anybody.
That was Dr. David Matsanga, a political scientist and international relations expert, speaking to Mabu Boloka.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.
Coming up is The Upside with Nompumelelo and Tebogo. Tebogo is here with me in studio. Tebogo, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Listen, I was listening in on your conversation earlier about social media. Thabiso, are you telling me that I'm not allowed to post when I go on vacation? The haters must know when I'm away.
They say you must rather do it later, but you can't tell when and when not to do it.
They must know in real time. Anyway, let me tell you what's coming up on the show this afternoon. We talk about the power of protecting your ideas ahead of World Intellectual Property Day. And this is as South African music is hitting global stages now. And yet, they're still facing challenges. AI is coming into the picture, consuming content and music on unsolicited and unregulated sites. Artists not getting paid. We'll delve into that. And then we get into conversation with DJ and cultural force Cherise C as she joins us to talk about her new release, Sirens Interlude. And then finally, we speak to Maestro Adam Howard, the conductor behind Red Bull Symphonic, where Calvin Momo is about to blend amapiano and orchestra. It's about time. His amapiano is very private school anyway.
Wow, sounds interesting, Tebogo. Intellectual property, a hot topic. We'll be tuning in, definitely. Thanks for joining us. My name is Thabiso Lehoko. I was standing in for Lulu Gaboo. And next up, it's news with Noluthando Buthelezi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thanks, Thabiso, and good afternoon. Celebrations are in full swing as Zimbabweans across the globe celebrate the 45th anniversary of their country's independence, a pivotal moment in their nation's history. Zimbabwe's journey to sovereignty followed decades under the British rule that ended in April 18 in 1980, marking the